On July the 1st, Britain marked what would have a historic Diana's 65th birthday, a milestone that left a nation questioning what might have been. But behind the heavy ceremonial gates, away from the prying eyes of the world, a deeply private decision was unfolding. What William did in those quiet, unscripted hours has left royal observers in absolute tears, forever reshaping how a tragic legacy is protected. No public press releases, no staged photos, just a heartbreaking hidden gesture that completely blindsided the institution. You'll want to stay tuned until the very end of this video, because the final piece of this puzzle, a stunning revelation involving 11-year-old Princess Charlotte, uncovers the real reason this moment has deeply moved everyone who has heard it. If you love diving deep into the untold stories behind the palace walls, take a quick moment to hit that subscribe button and join our community. We'd love to have you along for the journey. The public image projected to the world on July the 1st, 2026 was one of absolute unwavering duty. There was William, standing tall in heavy ceremonial velvet at St. Giles's Cathedral in Edinburgh, surrounded by King Charles and Camilla, while sharp protests from anti-monarchy groups echoed just outside the stone walls. To any casual observer, it was business as usual for the future king. But behind that perfectly maintained mask, a completely different reality was unfolding. Insiders say the tension radiating from the prince was palpable, a quiet storm brewing beneath a flawless exterior. He was physically present at a massive state event for the Order of the Thistle, yet his mind was miles away, anchored to a bittersweet milestone. What would have been Diana's 65th birthday? The Crown expects total emotional restraint, demanding that personal grief be buried under layers of ancient protocol. Yet, on this specific afternoon, the traditional stiff upper lip was pushed to its absolute limit. Rumors indicate that staff noticed a distinct shift in his demeanor, a subtle distraction that grew heavier as the hours ticked by, especially whenever he was forced to stand alongside Camilla on a day so intrinsically tied to his mother. He was playing a role dictated by centuries of history, but that 65th milestone carried an undeniable emotional gravity that no amount of royal staging could hide. That is because the true story of July the 1st wasn't happening in front of the television cameras or amidst the flashing lights of the press pack. While the official ceremony marched onward with military precision, a highly confidential plan had already been set into motion. Reports suggest that the real tribute, the one that would ultimately catch the entire institution completely off guard, was designed to take place hundreds of miles away, at a secluded sanctuary the establishment has never been able to control. Hundreds of miles away from the chaos of Edinburgh lies an isolated island that the establishment has never been able to truly govern. This is Althorp, the ancestral Spencer estate, where Diana was laid to rest in the middle of a completely silent ornamental lake. For nearly 3 decades, this water has acted as a physical barrier against the world, keeping the press and palace officials strictly at bay. It is a sanctuary of absolute privacy. But as the sun began to set on what would have been her 65th birthday, that quiet water bore witness to a highly confidential arrival. While the public assumed William was wrapped up in official duties in Scotland, whispers from the estate tell a very different story. Allegedly, a private journey was made to the water's edge, completely bypassing the official royal diary. There were no flashing cameras, no security motorcades, and absolutely no press releases. It was a pilgrimage stripped of all royal pretense. According to sources, William wanted to stand in the one place that belongs entirely to his mother, away from the heavy titles and institutional expectations that defined her life and her tragic end. For a man whose entire life has been lived under constant surveillance, choosing absolute isolation was a powerful statement in itself. He was reclaiming a private moment from a public that has spent 30 years demanding a piece of his grief. But the true significance of this quiet pilgrimage wasn't just about a son visiting a grave. It is claimed that the real reason this moment left observers so deeply moved was who he chose to bring into this sacred space with him, setting the stage for a conversation that would change everything. The memory of a global icon is being systematically rewritten where the palace can't stop it. For decades, the establishment controlled how Diana was framed in history books and public statements. But William has subtly broken away from that rigid script. Rather than letting his children learn about their grandmother from magazine covers or television documentaries, he has taken full control of the narrative. In the quiet safety of their own home, the legendary figure is stripped of the heavy titles and global fame, transformed instead into a regular family presence known simply as Granny Diana. This isn't just about sharing old stories, it is a calculated effort to bypass the official palace history entirely. Sources suggest that William has carefully introduced Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis to a version of Diana that the public never truly saw. He shares the small, ordinary memories, her quick laughter, her playful nature, and the deep warmth she brought into a world that often lacked it. It is an intentional effort to turn a heavy national grief into a living family inheritance. But this intentional history lesson is doing much more than just keeping a memory alive. It is actively molding the next generation of the monarchy from the inside out, instilling a deep sense of empathy that the traditional institution has historically resisted. And as these lessons take root, it is one specific child who is beginning to display the unmistakable traits of the grandmother she never met, leading to a profound moment that recently left onlookers completely stunned. At just 11 years old, Princess Charlotte is already stepping into a role that the palace never saw coming. It is no secret that she carries the name of the grandmother she never had the chance to meet. But recently, those close to the family have noticed something far more profound than a shared name. It is claimed that Charlotte has begun displaying the exact same defiant warmth and fierce independence that once made Diana the undisputed queen of people's hearts. She isn't just growing up, she is becoming a living mirror of a legacy the institution spent decades trying to manage. This striking resemblance has reportedly led to some deeply emotional moments within the family. Insiders say that as Charlotte reaches an age of deeper understanding, she has begun asking piercing, heartfelt questions about the grandmother whose shadow she walks in. William hasn't shied away from these difficult conversations. Instead, reports suggest he has met his daughter's curiosity with absolute honesty, sharing private memories that no historian could ever access. He is deliberately passing down a deeply personal inheritance. But this isn't just a father comforting his daughter with stories from the past. According to sources, William views these quiet moments as something much greater, a quiet passing of the torch. By sharing these untold truths, he is handing Charlotte an immense emotional responsibility, preparing the young princess to carry her grandmother's true spirit into a changing world. And what this means for the absolute power dynamic of the royal family is about to change everything. The ultimate power dynamic within the monarchy has officially flipped, reversing a decades-old reality. For nearly 30 years, the heavy burden of managing Diana's memory belonged entirely to the institution, a cold, calculated system of official statements and carefully controlled anniversaries. But 30 years after walking behind his mother's coffin under the piercing gaze of millions, William has completely seized the narrative. The palace no longer dictates how she is remembered. Her son does. It is a quiet, total reclamation of a story that was stolen from him when he was just a 15-year-old boy. This sudden shift has left old guard palace officials completely destabilized. Rumors indicate that the traditional establishment is deeply uncomfortable with this loss of control. For years, they managed the legacy through a lens of strict institutional preservation. Now, William's refusal to issue a grand, state-approved tribute on her 65th birthday has signaled a bold new era. He has effectively locked the palace gates against the official machine, choosing an unscripted family truth over a hollow public spectacle. By cutting out the official channels, he is ensuring that her memory can never again be used as a tool for public relations. It is a masterclass in modern royal strategy, keeping the true narrative entirely inside his immediate circle. According to sources, this calculated independence is paving the way for a radical transformation of the crown's future. And what this fierce, protective stance means for the next generation will ultimately change how the public views the monarchy forever. What this fierce, protective stance ultimately proves is that legacies are not built from cold monuments, heavy stone statues, or carefully drafted palace statements. They live on in the quiet, unscripted moments of a family determined to remember. Diana will never grow old, but the little girl who carries her name is growing up with her exact same warmth and spirit. On a milestone 65th birthday that she never reached, her story finally shifted from a heavy national grief into a living, breathing promise for the future. The institution may hold the crown, but her family finally holds her memory. We would love to know your thoughts on this deeply moving tribute, so please leave a comment down below. If you want to stay updated on the untold stories from inside the palace gates, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to see you in the next video.